I'm Marie Hopkinson, Chinese Medicine Practitioner, and today I want to talk to you about what dampness is. You may be a person that's had a diagnosis of dampness, or you just curious about what it is. It's a common thing that Chinese medicine practitioners talk about, and it's not really in any other kind of medicine. So I thought today's video we could talk a little bit about it. So we'll be slowing this down a little bit. Some people on the channel have requested that. I know I've got an unusual accent. I guess if you're even in Australia, I don't have a typical Aussie accent. So we'll just go a little bit more slowly for people, so it can help you to understand what I'm talking about. Now, if you've already watched the video about your diet and your digestion, the video is called Why Eat Mostly Cooked Foods. If you haven't gone and seen that, go and watch that, because in that video I really talk about the underlying causes of, well, one of the main causes that can cause dampness in your body. So what I'd like to start with today is just a little bit of understanding about Chinese medicine theory. I'm trying not to go too fast. So Chinese medicine theory about yin and yang. So I'm going to put up a little picture somewhere here or here. You'll see a little tai chi, which is the yin yang symbol. So the white, it represents the yang, and the yin is represented by the black. Now, this symbol, it basically just epitomizes or shows us that they're two opposites. And look, without getting into a big debate or explanation, not really debate, but explaining about it, why does that make a difference? Why is that important in understanding dampness? Well, in Chinese medicine, dampness is almost an ethereal thing. You can't cut open a body and go, oh, look, here's dampness. It's you may be able to see signs where in Chinese medicine we would consider that to be damp. But it's more looking at how that function has failed, and that dampness is maybe to blame for that. So yin is the structure in our body, and yang is the function in our body. So if you were to die, you would just be a dead person on a slab in the morgue. Let's say you would be all yin with no yang. Okay, so if you believe in a spirit, then your spirit would be all yang with no yin. The function of our body, the ability that the fact that I can move around, the fact that I can think and have consciousness, that is all part of a yang, part of a function. So yin is in itself is density. So this table here, the shelves here are more yin than yang. Now, once maybe they did have some yang, if they were wooden and they were made out of wood, the density, the structure of it, but the fact that that's the yin part, the fact that it can grow and that it's that it can change and transform, go from a seed to a, the processes involved in that function is a yang function. So in our human body, we have yin and yang. We don't have just either one or the other. And the yin yang concept is like looking at the body in terms of a balance of those things, but like it's a relativity. You can't have an absolute, nothing is actually absolutely 100% all all yin or all yang in our human body, in a healthy, an alive human body, let's say. So it's, what is dampness then? So dampness is a yin substance, right? So dampness belongs to yin. It belongs to density, thickness, turbidity, if you like, whereas the human body needs more yang than it needs more yin to be healthy and function. So let's think about that in terms of so dampness is a pathogenic thing. You don't want dampness. You don't want to go around saying, oh, I need more dampness. Dampness is something you don't want. Dampness is considered a pathology, which is an abnormal substance, or a deviation from the normal functioning. So another explanation of dampness can be from the environment. So in Chinese medicine, I think there could be environmental pathogens, if you like, wind, cold, dampness, heat, those things that our human bodies can be subject to the environment. They are subject to the environment, but they can be, the environment can actually cause illness in our body if we are not able to cope with that environment. So either your body gets weak and it can't cope with the environment, or the environment's just super, super strong, and no human body could kind of cope with that. So for instance, if I was to jump in a freezer, I could cope with that freezer for a certain amount of time, and then at some point my body would freeze, would literally become an ice block, because I couldn't cope with that environment any longer. And so Is that a normal kind of environment to be in? Probably not. Like there are aspects where extreme temperature will cause disease to our body, or extreme deviations from our temperature. So let's say, for instance, dampness is like in the environment. It's literally that damp environment. So you say, oh, it's damp today, so it's humidity. People that live in a humid climate, consistently and constantly tend to, their body over time becomes accustomed to that environment, so they're easier to tolerate that environment. Now, I don't know if you've ever been overseas. You come from a dry place and gone into a humid environment. I remember the first time I went to China. Actually, I was on the way to China. I went through Hong Kong, and I'd never been to such a humid environment before. Certainly not at that season of the time, and it was very, very hot. And in Perth, it was very cold, and not very cold, but it was colder. It was winter going into there, hot. And I remember walking out of the airport, just being bamboozled by the hotness, not realizing how hot it was, but it was like the air was thick and dense, and that humid air. That's a good example of dampness. Dampness tends to take on the environment of either cold kind of dampness or hot kind of dampness. So depending on what's happening in the human body and what's happening in the environment. So some people are very affected by the environment in terms of damp. They feel it in their joints. They feel it in their like their muscles, or they'll say, oh, that like a certain type of arthritis. People say, oh, I can tell when the weather's changing because my joints start hurting. That's a good example of Chinese medicine would say damp in the channels, or damp in the exterior part of your body. So that's one aspect of dampness. Now that is a good aspect to kind of explain, like if you think of the environment like a cloud, well, dampness can be like a cloud in your body, like literally like a lingering cloud in your body. So one of the symptoms of dampness tends to be a foggy or cloudy headedness. Now, that doesn't come because like you actually have a cloud in your head, but what happens is the yang of your body, the function of your body is obstructed. It can't function properly. So you need what they call clear yang to be rising from, to rise into your head in order for you to actually think clearly. So the idea that the ability of your body to think clearly, to articulate your words, to problem solve, to come to a conclusion, or do anything, is because of that clear yang. Now, if you have dampness, it would literally feel like, some people feel like a vice-like kind of grip around their head. They feel like something's clamping on their head, and that would be, we would consider that a symptom of dampness. So you may have had that diagnosis from a Chinese medicine practitioner, say, oh, this is caused by dampness. And sometimes there's just not enough time in the consult for practitioners to sometimes explain things to you properly. But also what I find is some of these concepts are just, to actually understand them, you need a lot more understanding than just like one or two lines of understanding. So that's why I'm making these videos. So hopefully this is for people that really want to know quite a lot more, not just a two-line answer kind of thing. So the thing to think of is damp is a yin substance. It's a substance. When it's engendered, or that means it's like it's caused internally. So when there's not enough yang, yin will come and take its place. So that means that the body will start to build up damp. Now, a good example of that is being overweight. So if you have more function, like you start exercising more, generally people will lose weight. Now, obviously, every situation is going to be slightly different, but just as in a general aspect, if you start having more activity, more yang, then that will get rid of the yin, right? And another thing is another way of thinking that is if you're very tired, you're very lethargic, and you feel better when you do exercise, quite often it's because the more you laze about, the more you lie around. Think about when you go on holidays or you have a few days off and you're just lying around on the couch. Sometimes that can actually make you feel more tired because you've just had so much yin and you haven't had enough yang in your activity and your doing level. So damp can be caused internally because of a lack of yang. Now that's one thing that's Chinese medicine practitioner can really help you with, is to look at, okay, is this person due to lots of illnesses? Have they had a lot of damage? Somehow the yang has been damaged and they actually are struggling to get rid of the weight, get rid of the dampness, or get rid of the like the accumulations that happen, or whatever. There could be other symptoms of damp. So dampness can sometimes in our digestive system can cause us to feel bloated, very heavy. That muzzy headed or that foggy headed feeling is very common. But often in your digestion, in your abdomen, you can feel bloated, or that can also be a sign associated with damp. If you had a look at my other video, the digestion one, the why it mostly cook foods, I'm talking on a TCM level, so traditional Chinese medicine. We're talking about spleen qi deficiency and those kind of patterns associated with dampness. That can also be part of the cause of damp, and that's more to do with your diet. Now, there are certain foods that are what we call dampening foods. So your TCM practitioner might have said to you, don't eat certain foods, like stay away from cold foods, or stay away from ice cream, or stay away from rich foods, dairy foods, creamy foods. Those are what we call dampening foods. What's a dampening food? It's a food that tends to have so much yin that it either requires a lot of yang to break it down, and if you're a bit yang deficient, then you'll have trouble with that. Or in a TCM perspective. So that's a classical Chinese medicine analogy, saying that you're yang deficient, but in a TCM perspective, we'd say you would be maybe spleen qi deficiency. So your body's just really struggling to actually process that richer, denser food. So a good example is cheese. Like cheese comes in all ranges of, you can have hard cheese, soft cheese, and something in between, I guess. But the richer cheeses are the more creamier, like less hard cheese. So the softer cheeses and things that are like, especially cheese like feta cheese and what's that, goat's feta, that's Persian feta, that's all sort of coated in oil, and those things are quite delicious if you love cheese, but those things are much more dampening than something that's been, for instance, more fermented. Fermented foods tend to be less dampening because they've had some process happen to them that makes them easier to digest. So essentially, what are dampening foods? Are foods that are hard to digest. So it's on a scale, it's on a spectrum of stuff. And this is why some people could find the same food, one person will find it really hard to digest, another person will find it not so hard. Or the younger you are, the more yang you have. So you can eat a lot more foods without finding them hard to digest. Certainly foods that have dairy, that are the richer type of dairy foods than the less fermented dairy foods, those things will be more dampening. And if you have dampness, I would probably try to stay away from those foods. Anything with a lot of sugar, or even just any sugar in general, the sweeter something is, the more dampening it becomes, the harder it is to digest. The more yin is in that food. So yang flavors are like especially pungent. So it's got a bit of pungent that helps to kind of negate, or to sort of mitigate the effects of something that's very rich and dense. The denser it is, that's another good example. The heavier and denser it is, the more calories that are kind of packed into something, especially foods that are processed. Anything that's come out of a packet, so that's things where you've got especially if it's got sugar, but because it's had to have salt probably and some kind of preservatives in there to keep it in the packet to make its life last long enough to stay as a food, that will be more dampening. So if you have dampness, if you're struggling with dampness and you're watching this video because you think, I'd like to know more about that, what foods should I eat, then you've got to stay away from packet foods as much as possible. So by cooking the foods yourself freshly, you can probably get away with eating a little more denser foods if you're not eating those kinds of packet foods. So staying away from packets, stay away from sugar. Sugar it's a drug, really. It's not that great for us as human beings to eat sugar. So another aspect that we need to think about in dampness is anything that's accumulations in the body could be considered as damp, or phlegm, or rheum. In Chinese medicine, we also use that word. So those things all kind of, when we talk about internal damp, it's rheum or phlegm that we're talking about. So things that accumulate, like masses, lumps, whether they be like a lipoma or something like that, which is a fatty accumulation, or whether it's actually like a cancerous mass. In Chinese medicine, we would consider that to be a dampness issue. So, it makes sense. I think there's new research now that's showing, looking at diet for cancers, for instance, starving the cancer by having a very low sugar diet or a keto, kind of going into ketosis and having a ketogenic type of diet, is a better diet for people who are suffering with cancer often than just the standard, everyday Western kind of diet. Now, I'm not trying to give you advice. If you have cancer, or if you think you have cancer, please go and see your doctor, your GP, your general practitioner, your primary care physician, whatever you call them in your country. Please don't use this video as a replacement for that diagnosis and that treatment. I'm not trying to say we can treat cancer in any way whatsoever. With this video, I'm just talking about is things in a theoretical sense, that lumps, accumulations, and masses in Chinese medicine all come under that same aspect of dampness. So no matter what that accumulation is made out of, it's still considered in a broad sense too much yin with not enough yang. So why have you got something building up? Why have you got something accumulating that's dense and firm? And then within those masses, there can be lots of different types. And actually, Chinese medicine practitioners differentiate different types of phlegm or rheum or dampness in the body. They can differentiate that by the symptoms that you have and whereabouts that damp is and how it came to be about. There are cases where you can actually get affected by damp or phlegm because you were like exposing yourself to like the environment, like lying in a bath of lukewarm water, let's say, and sweating is going to cause a type of pathogenic yin, like a pathogenic yin substance issue for you, just because you're exposed to that environment, because you're lying around in sort of this lukewarm water for so long. So sometimes people's jobs, like I've had some patients where they've been in, they've worked in and out of a freezer all the time, so you've got the added aspect of it being very cold, and that causing them to have a lot of joint pain and things like that. But I've had some patients that have had to work in water, so they've either had to have their hands immersed in water a lot, even through rubber gloves and things that can affect you if it's for years and years, or they worked in like a sewage treatment plant or something like that, or they work in a marine biology or something where they're immersed in water like quite a lot. That can actually cause problems with damp in our human body as well. So yeah, hopefully this video has been useful to you. If you do find it useful, please leave a comment in the comments. If there's something that you'd like to know more about, I would love to know what you would like to know more about in the comments. So pop a comment in, like the video, subscribe to my channel. So hopefully this has helped you understand what dampness is, how you can help it for yourself, and in the future ones, if you want more information about this topic, the videos you can look at right now are the ones I do about diet. So why eat mostly cooked foods is a very good video for that kind of explanation, and that'll give you the basis of a diet. So if you follow that kind of diet, then that kind of sets your body up to digest foods as best as it can. So I hope this video has been useful and informative for you. Thanks very much for watching.